Everyone, in this demo, I'll show you how OpenBB can modernize risk management applications powered by your sensitive data, running on-prem, fully customizable, and with the AI built into the application. So I have a dashboard here that we put together. And in this first tab, we're pulling some publicly available data from French's website about Fama-French factor returns. So everything here is custom. So you can choose which factor returns that you would like to look, whatever is relevant for you at whatever frequencies and so on and so forth. You can move things around, reshape them, restructure them, regroup them, whichever way you would like to. And here's a very simple example how you can use a copilot. So I'm going to add this French factor data to context and going to ask, let's just go to my prompt library. I want to compute log returns for each factor and plot it as time series. So I want to switch from raw values to some sort of chart. You can build the chart manually using the controls here, but these are index values. They're not returns. So you somehow need to do the computation. You can just ask AI to do the computation for you. So I created the chart here based on my prompt. I'm using OpenBB Copilot in this case. And here's a nice thing. Everything that the chat panel has, you can export it as a new widget. So now AI computed the log returns and exported everything. So now I can add this to context and ask another question if I want to. Now in the second tab of my custom application, let's pick a client. Let's assume that this application is running on-prem, so you can bring sensitive data to OpenBB without OpenBB or anybody else taking a peek at your data. So this is a custom built chart/analysis tool. So it could be customized with code to whichever way you would like to see data. So let's say I'm looking at my 3 fake clients whose identities I have masked. I put a drop-down menu to see the portfolio performance as well as the individual holdings and how some of the individual stocks in this portfolio are doing. Let's just go back to the portfolio. I added my own drop-down for the horizons. I can switch to returns if I want to. Again, the whole point is you customize and build with code whatever functionality that you would have here. None of these things are coming out of the box. You can customize the application whichever you would like. You can toggle between the raw values versus some sort of chart view. You can also just customize the chart settings if you want to switch to something else. But I wanted to show here how to interact with the copilot, right? So let's say that I want to add this to context. I just want to ask a question. What is average daily volatility of returns for this portfolio? So for any computation that you want to do on the fly, you don't need to go back to some sort of coding or put data to Excel. You can just basically ask AI to answer simple questions like this. Next up, I created a tab to explore exposures by country, sector, and industry. Again, so I did some grouping so that you can browse and update different clients. Let's just focus on client number 2. And this is a good point to maybe also show the Copilot menu. So you're not limited to OpenBB Copilot. You can actually connect any Copilot to OpenBB. And in this particular example, for instance, I developed my own custom agent, and this agent is using DeepSeek under the hood and also has access to Perplexity API so that it can do web searches. So let's use this as my main copilot for this part of the demo. So I'm going to add it to context the industry, and let's just keep the industry only. And I wanted to ask, how diversified is this client by, let's remove the sector, just by industry. And I wanted to ask for some recommendations for diversification targets and ideas. So let's see what it can come up with. Okay, so you can go through the step-by-step reasoning. So you see it actually accesses this particular widget, and this is how the reasoning model operates. So it's basically saying heavy concentration in industrials, top 5 industries that they invest is more than half the portfolio. Here are some more custom screens that you can build. So in this case, you choose a client and you can see their top holdings. You can ask Copilot some insights around what are their biggest holdings. You can add more customizations here in the code. Say, what are my top holdings by a certain industry, by market cap, and so on and so forth. So you can make it part of the widget, or you can ask AI to do it. The point for this particular tab is that you're not limited to the visualization that we provided. You can also bring custom visualizations. So here's a very custom correlation matrix, for example, that is done with Plotly. It's color-coded and things of that nature. So in this case, for example, you're choosing a client, and with all the holdings that they have, you visualize the entire correlation matrix. So you can essentially do all of this custom work and still access them through OpenBB. In this final screen, you're going to get very custom. So you're not limited to just having data applications on OpenBB. You can also bring machine learning models, prediction models in general, run those things under the hood and expose the results and visualize them and make these models available for end users to share and manipulate. So in this case, we're doing an attribution analysis, right? So I'm basically running a client returns against a Fama-French factor models, which we have shown over here. So you can choose which models to run it against, which factors that you would like to use, which client portfolio you would like to run it against. And under the hood, there's actually a little API that I've custom built to run these regressions and then show the output and color code it by p-value. So let's take a look at client 3 portfolio. So the constant is typically interpreted as the alpha component. And this is where the AI is actually quite helpful. People always forget how to interpret the p-values and things of that nature. So how do I interpret the constant coefficient in Fama-French regressions using 5-factor model? Suppose that I have minus 0.08% coefficient and p-value of 0.022. How do I read this out to the client? So let's see what it came up with. It suggests that the average portfolio underperformed the model's predictions, and the p-value suggests that the alpha is not statistically significant, right? So if you want to explain this to a client, you can have the copilot to essentially draft some sort of like a client memo, for example. So this basically suggests that after accounting for blah, 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 it underperformed. The next steps are this and this and so on and so forth.